Does the idea of setting a timer feel pressurizing and stressful? Well, it might. That's a legitimate concern, especially if it's a 20-minute or half an hour timer. Because that long a time doesn't it mean that feels like a really reasonable amount of time. Your rational mind has plenty of time to get worried about whether you can write well and what you should write and whether it's going to turn out okay, and this is going to be your result for the day, so it better be good. But if you set a 10-minute timer, it's amazing. The complete opposite happens. Your rational mind thinks, I can't write anything good in 10 minutes. It's completely ridiculous. So it finds it much easier to just let go and let your imagination take the lead. And that really is the goal of the Imaginative Storm method, and I believe it's the secret to writing well. The secret to writing well is not trying to write well. That's number one top tip, right? So anything you can do to release yourself from trying to write well is going to help you. This is how you're going to allow your imagination to lead the dance with your rational mind. This is how you're going to surprise yourself. Because when it's only 10 minutes, it doesn't matter. When it matters, all you think about is consequence and ambition and anxiety and judgment and what the result is going to be, and am I going to get published, and is anybody going to think this is any good, or are they going to think I'm just a lousy writer, and all of those thoughts that go round and round in your head. But when you're writing for just 10 minutes, clearly that's not going to be anything remotely approaching the final draft. I mean, in fact, you might pick it up and put it into your final draft and hardly change anything. That has happened to me. But as you're writing it, you don't know that you're going to do that. You don't think that there's really much possibility of being able to do that. So you can kind of let go. You can be free. You can play. You can come up with those surprising, arresting images and turns of phrase and insights. Because it's throwaway. If you didn't get anything, guess what? You wasted all of 10 minutes. But the 10 minutes add up. You're not going to just write for 10 minutes and that'll be it for the day, although maybe it could be. Or you might decide to do 3 10-minute sessions. You've still only been writing for maybe a little more than half an hour, but you end up with quite a lot of material. And I will tell you now that I generated all the material for 2 full-length books, a memoir and a novel, in 10-minute chunks, because it was the only way I could stop myself trying to write well. So I would sit there and go, okay, for the next 10 minutes, I'm going to write about my grandpa. Or for the next 10 minutes, I'm going to write about that awful Thanksgiving. Or for the next 10 minutes, I'm going to go on a rant about nail salons because I don't know what else to do. And that ended up in my novel. I didn't know that it would, but it did. Without much change. I did another rant about long-stemmed red roses with the thorns cut off, and that turned into dialogue in my novel. So you don't necessarily know where these 10-minute pieces are going to end up. You don't know what form the material in them is going to take. And that's a good thing, because you're not trying to polish the surface. You're not trying to write well. What you're doing is putting substance inside, underneath the surface. You're generating new material, creative new material, new perceptions, new arrangements of your experience, new arrangements of words. And those 10 minutes add up. If maybe you think that, I didn't get much that 10 minutes, wasn't much there, remember to follow the last tip in this series. Read your work aloud. It won't take you that long. And you'll notice things that you may well not notice if you just read it silently on the page.